Well, the days of the Liddell coal-fired power plant in New South Wales are well and truly numbered. The once hulking powerhouse is set to enter a shutdown phase, its last before its complete retirement this month. Shadow Energy Minister Ted O'Brien joins us now from nearby Kurri Kurri in New South Wales. Ted, welcome back to the program. AGL, as owners of Liddell, are describing this as the orderly and responsible closure and transition. Lots of thought has gone into it. What gives rise to your concern that this might somehow unsettle supply in the grid?
Great to be with you again this afternoon, Greg. Look, I think what AGL has said is right. I think they put an enormous amount of effort into the closure. Nevertheless, I've decided to come here to the Hunter on the eve of Liddell closing down because this does mark the beginning of what I believe will be the most turbulent era in Australia's energy history. And that is because we have 80% of our baseload power exiting the grid by 2035. That begins with Liddell. And unfortunately, we are going to see a system close without any guarantee of a replacement. That only gives rise to greater risk in the reliability of the grid. And that's what I've been hearing here on the ground in the Hunter. Businesses and households alike are very concerned, not just about prices going up, and we all know they are going up, but what's going to happen when more and more baseload power stations close without replacements being online in time.
But where you are, Ted, is a point in all of this, isn't it? Kurri Kurri is going to be the site of an interim solution, a gas-fired peaking plant, and if it all works out technically, that's supposed to transition itself over to hydrogen power after, eight years or so. So these transition plans are in the system, locked in, aren't they, to very much cater for the closure of Liddell and others nearby?
Greg, on Liddell, I think you're right in that the coalition government, when it was in power, did have a plan. Number one, we convinced AGL to extend the life of Liddell. And number two, we knew that we needed to have gas, and that is why we made the investment in the Kurri Kurri gas plant. But here is the problem. Since Labor has come to government, unfortunately what we've seen is no engagement with AGL on the extension of Liddell, but more importantly, we've seen a postponement of the Kurri Kurri plant. And that is because the Prime Minister, and in particular the Minister, has been insistent about Liddell as it closes, Kurri Kurri not coming online as a gas plant, but having 30% blended hydrogen, green hydrogen. Now that's despite the CEO and other experts saying it's not achievable. They didn't do a full costing on the project. But as we know now through Senate estimates, that just won't happen. Snowy executives have confirmed that Kurri Kurri gas plant will not be operating in time. So come this winter, please God it doesn't bite too hard, I tell you what, come summer, that's when we needed this Kurri Kurri gas plant up and running, but it won't be. Well, and here we have the NEM. Seriously, it's going to be under strain. And behind where we've got the Tomago aluminium smelter, I think a lot of people don't know the role that that company plays in just keeping the grid stable. We are entering uncharted territory in Australia, and what we have ahead of us with more and more baseload power stations to close, it's only going to get more dangerous.
All right. Well, you are well advanced in your project on behalf of the coalition, Ted O'Brien, in scoping out and taking soundings on the viability of nuclear power. Have you discussed with anyone, business or individual, in the Kurri Kurri area whether they are open to locating a nuclear reactor right where you are?
Greg, I'm sorry to keep... I'm actually brushing off mosquitoes in case you're wondering why I keep touching my face here. Look, we have had discussions about all types of technology today. And I think as the coalition has always made clear, we back technology, we back economics, we back enterprise. You know, the path of decarbonisation is going to be so difficult. The last thing we should be doing is taking technologies off the table. And so has nuclear energy come up today? Yes, it has come up in conversations. That's not the purpose of the visit, though. But it's always good to have that opportunity of swapping notes. And what I think you find in regions like the Hunter is a high energy IQ. They get it. They understand energy. They understand the importance of energy to power an economy.
Sure.
And there's a pragmatism across certainly this region when it comes to making sure that all technologies are on the table for consideration.
But not necessarily,
so,
Ted O'Brien, open to, a specific proposal that would see a nuclear reactor right there?
Oh, nobody's talking about that. I'm not here talking about that. Our thoughts, number one, are with the workers of Liddell, and I think AGL, by the sounds of it, have done a pretty good job in that regard, I have to say, and I think that's great. But number two, it's a real concern that people have about the reliability of the grid moving forward. And if it wasn't for the likes of Tomago behind us, I tell you what, the grid would be in deep trouble. And as more and more power stations close, we're going to have the risk of blackouts and brownouts across this country. We've got to be alive to that. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say it, but Australia, we have a problem here. We have a premature closure of baseload power stations without any replacement there ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we have to say it. This poses an enormous risk for the entire economy, and it's great to be here on the ground of the Hunter, at least talk to those who are closest to the coalface.
Well, we'll measure in future months how that transition goes and perhaps note your remarks today to see if they turn out to be prophetic in any way. Ted O'Brien, thanks for joining us from Kurri Kurri there.